Hello, I'm Andrew Gentile,
And I'm Ariana.
and you're listening to Behind the Flicks. This show is all about me sharing as many facts as I know about filmmaking and directors and behind the scenes info about movies and whatnot to Ariana. And you'll join us for the ride. Our guest today is the fascinating Chris Smith, a writer and line producer. Chris, how are you?
I am good. That was a
Fair enough.
fantastically intro. That's a good intro, man.
Solid.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've used it a number of times.
Well,
Exact
let's do another take.
24 to be exact.
You should do another take and really just enjoy it. Just have fun with it. It's the best
Right.
direction ever, right?
Yeah.
And you're listening to Behind the Flicks. Um, so, Chris,
Yes.
would you please be able to share a bit about yourself?
Yes. So the main bits are grew up on a cattle ranch in a rural. I consider myself half redneck, despite the polo shirt. Um, I still go to gas stations for coffee. I make a hillbilly mocha. Um,
It's good.
right, it's better than other things, but I did French press this morning. Show you how to do that.
Nice.
Yeah, grew up on a ranch, found theater in high school, and went, "Oh, these are my weirdos. They get me." Um, Pursued theater through junior college and then University of California at Irvine, and got a really big head about myself because I kept doing a whole bunch of things. Was one of the few people out of there with honors in acting and directing, and I gave the commencement address for the arts and humanities graduation. I want to say 2003,
Nice.
which makes me a very old man. With a Michael Chekhov quote and two Calvin and Hobbes.
Nice.
Um, yeah, because I was so studious that I pulled from one obscure acting teacher and Calvin and Hobbes. Um,
That's how
yeah,
education works.
right? Like, yeah, just do what you do. That's fine. It's arts education, right?
Mhm.
You go to
Exactly.
your wheelhouse. I then went into LA, did the normal thing of trying to audition as an actor, not really caring about anything. Um, because nothing was really great. Um, didn't really get involved in any of the various things. I just started writing because that's always what I wanted to do, but didn't pursue it when other options were given to me. Eventually got onto an independent film, quit a temp job to work on a $20,000 feature film in every department, basically. Like, I refloored a guy's house, PA'd, um, learned how to do movie magic scheduling. But that opportunity led to other PA work, and then other. Um, I got. It was funny to me because I got known as the white guy who will work on black films.
Explain.
Yeah.
Um, the casting director from that film, it was basically a black filmmaking crew on that one, and I met them through, I want to say it was Film Independent then in LA, um, at a writing thing or something, and I would just help. The casting director would help cast other black films, but she would be brought in the early part of the process, and then I'd be she really liked me, so she talked to executives or writers. And usually with independent film, you have a writer who's really excited, but don't know how to budget or schedule. Like, I want to make this film. I don't know. I kind of know how to do it, but I don't really know how to do it. So I need a person. And then they'd talk to their casting director friend, and she would throw work my way. So I did, like, almost immediately, 3 films right in a row as a, line producer, coordinator, production manager, I think almost in that order. Um, and then moved into also started moving up the line in commercials and infomercials, like doing the jump around, like, "Oh, you were a PA 2 years ago. The production manager for this infomercial company is moving on. Do you want to do these every couple of months?" Like, "Yes, they pay very well." Um, and eventually got picked to come over and do some weird creative stuff in the reality world. If anybody remembers Dude, What Would Happen on the Cartoon Network, their one live action semi jackass with cartoon influence show, I built a lot of weird props. I was the guy that built things that weren't stunts, special effects, or art department. Like when all three departments went, no, they handed it to me as an associate producer. That met people that got me involved in challenge producing for a few shows, which is bananas. And then they found out that I had line producing and production management experience. So I started just sort of jumping around for the same executives for a while, until I got a job as an executive in charge of production for a reality company. Um, that was the first time I had a consistent paycheck, where I wasn't doing the usual scramble.
How many years did it take from when you graduated to when you got that
Uh,
job?
10, 12.
Whew,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds
that's a
about
lot
right.
of work.
Yeah.
Consistency. Good for
Uh,
you.
right. And then I hated it.
Mm.
Sure.
Well, that's about the time I got I almost ran over a dog, who became my dog.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Leaving a meeting in Glendale, took a turn. Anybody who's in Glendale and tries to escape Glendale on side roads knows that you have to go up one or two to get a light. I almost ran over my little guy. And all of a sudden, I was like, I have this thing at home that I want to get back to that I'm not seeing, and I'm not doing anything I really enjoy. First step into the destruction of my previous career. Um, it's like, oh, I'm going to make a sacrifice for this thing that I love versus this thing that, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? I hope not. And eventually moved back up to Northern California to the ranch. Got back into theater because I love it. Got into writing more, decreased the overhead so that I could focus on things. Like I do one or two larger jobs in LA and other places a year. Most of the time, just trying to build the life that I want. And so I think the biggest thing that happened in the last couple of years to my philosophy that really changed was figuring out hills that I'll die on, thematically for work. And all of a sudden, I care about what's being said and done in a film or a play. And I want to be a force of good for some people, in the film, in art. I want to say something of value that helps move us forward as only art can do and story can do.
Chris, can you explain what those note cards are behind you?
Yes. So I have two used to be somebody's closet doors that I now do the serial killer cards on. Um, but I actually had a friend stay over in an apartment in LA one time, just passed out drunk on my couch, woke up and had never been in my apartment. And above the couch was this. Uh,
Above the couch, like the ceiling?
no, on the wall just above it. So he wakes up and
Oh,
he goes,
okay.
"Are my kidneys here? What, what is that?"
Just
No, yeah. Bar one is a full length play in beat structure, as there are no scenes really, just act one, act two. And this is the progression on a one act with a beat progression on a one act that I need to take from 70 pages of a vomit draft down to 40 ish. That has been driving me nuts because it's not a two character back and forth. It's not scenes. It's starting as the curtain opens. It's one scene with six characters, each with a thing to do and say for a straight hour. Then, which like a scene, you go, all right, we need this information. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to talk to this person. I need this thing. And there's a little bit of character development in our exchange. And then I'm going to go. And the scene's over. I did that in my action voice. And then, But in this, it's like you have to figure out in the same way scenes as there's one scene, so it's just beats
Yeah.
of I need this thing, but also how do I get the 4 other people who are in the room to not be a part of the conversation?
But
Yeah.
still have something to do.
Right. Yeah, and you've only got it's a cheap trick that I learned ages ago. You can only give one person the I don't want to be here. I'm going to look at my phone.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
got one character that can be the I don't care at all. I'm looking up a thing. I don't care. Thing.
And even then, you kind of have to limit it throughout the piece you're doing.
Right, because eventually that character's got to be intrigued, or that why is he there? Why are they
Yeah.
existing? Yeah,
Yeah. Wow,
Um,
that's an endeavor.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Since I said this is what I'm doing now with all my free time, whenever I have it, it's been a fun process.
I love the term vomit draft.
Uh,
for our listeners at home, can you explain what a vomit draft is?
Yeah, it is. I feel ready. I've done whatever prep work I want to do, and I just have to start writing action and dialogue. Blah, 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 blah. Get it all out as much as you possibly can. Racing to the end. Hopefully, if you've been doing this long enough and you understand the medieval baby term, I hope I coined it because then I could sell it at some point. The You're just trying to get as much as you can out on your screenplay, on your play, on your novel, your essay, whatever, and then going back and taking a look at it.
Hmm.
So your whatever layers you think, I believe in the layer approach of writing.
Mhm.
Um, um, whatever layers you think you've got, you just start writing them, and then you figure out what the holes are later.
Terrific.
Yeah,
Yeah, nothing gets written until it's on the page. You can't analyze anything until you can actually analyze it.
one hundred
So you
percent.
gotta vomit it up at some point.
And you have to just understand that that's what it's gonna be. It's as much as you know.
Hmm.
And I'm a part of a couple writing groups, and the youngins, I have to remind them what you're doing is just getting through what you know at the moment, and then you go back, you take a look at it. This is what drafting is. You go back, what layer am I missing? Oh, my plot's really strong, but my character development or my character journey isn't very good
Mhm.
in this current iteration. So I'm going to focus on that next.
Hmm.
The all my secondary characters aren't very strong. I'm gonna go focus on that. Or I really did a lot of great character exploration, but the plot is not as strong as I want. All those things.
Yeah.
Or differentiation in dialogue. I didn't write really good descriptions and action. I did a lot of dialogue. Yeah, everybody's got their nobody's perfect the first time through, and everybody's got their strong suit
Yeah.
that you eventually add stuff to.
Can I go back for just a moment?
No.
You oh right. Okay. No, that's okay. Um,
That was good enough. There's no questions.
fair enough.
Yeah,
What a
please.
shell! What a shell! Let's chip away. Chip away.
Right? Yeah.
No, but I actually do have a question that I'm going to totally ignore your answer. Um,
Good.
no, but how would
Good.
you define, just for the listeners at home, how would you define black movies? How would you define?
Oh, uh, predominantly black producer. Like I would say the producers, directors, majority of the cast, the governing body, I guess, is as being mostly run in the black community.
Great. I just had to I want to make sure I got that in there just for
Yeah,
clarity's sake.
and it's fun being a fairly standard white guy, um, walking into a room and sort of understanding that you're now the minority and people don't necessarily trust you.
Hmm.
It was a really nice window into that side of, like, your little empathy sensor goes off and goes, "Oh, this is what everyone else feels all the time." Like, I get it now. I am now
Yeah.
more liberal. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So,
that's wonderful. Because some things you can only learn by really experiencing it for yourself. I mean, you could try to understand and be like, well, that makes sense. But to actually feel the feelings and get the looks from
Yeah.
people is a whole other experience. So I think that's really cool that you were able to expose yourself to that and you kept at it.
Yeah, no, it was well, it in the end, it was just I liked the people I was working with. I think one of the things that Los Angeles really taught me, and the theater really teaches me, because theater takes in the orphans of everyone. Anybody who's got a bone to pick with society ends up in the theater, which means a bunch of people who look like me are not needing to go somewhere to shout their truth and try and get people to listen, right? Um, so I find it really interesting that by the time I spent 15 years in film and TV in LA, I consider myself a Star Trek progressive. Where like, can you do the job? Doesn't matter if you're a black lesbian in a wheelchair or a guy who could be confused as my twin. You all of a sudden get an equality view of things because you've dealt with so many different people that are just great. I mean, that to me in the end is what film and theater's cultural take is, on my front, is just you now have experience with all these people, and you don't just recognize them as a group. They're other people.
Inclusion of individuals.
Yeah, as opposed to, oh, all blanks do blank,
Yeah.
because now you know 300 blanks.
Yeah.
You see, they don't all do blank.
Right? Yeah, it's not all the same. And to me, I think the best kind of life, honestly, is getting various points of view honestly from a lot of different people so that you can grow. Like a really good character in a film. Like, um,
Yeah.
you put them in the place they don't want to be, and they realize, oh, this is exceptionally helpful. And yeah, I needed somebody to have that influence in my life.
So, also, we've been throwing around the term line producer a lot.
Right.
Could you explain, for me, because I'm ignorant, what a line producer is?
Right. How dare you?
I know.
This will come up again because I looked at the IMDb crew for the film today, and I was amazed at certain things. So, a budget for a film comes in as a line item budget. Um, in the end, it sneaks down into things like PAs or generators or this picture car, this cast member. Each one is put out in a really intricate and specific Excel spreadsheet sort of looking thing. There are programs that do it that set up the structure, at least for you. You have to put in the numbers and information. Um, but each one of those things is a line. So it becomes a line item budget. A line producer is basically the person looking at the creating the budget and keeping an eye on all things budgeting. Philosophically, when somebody brings me a film to budget so that they can go out and um, do a deck or a proposal for learning for obtaining funds or getting some form of deal with a studio, whatever they're doing with their script and whatnot. I consider myself the first non-creative person brought onto a project. Usually, you've got maybe a director, a writer, producer, maybe your DP, maybe a production designer, those sorts of people, maybe an editor. My job is to be black and white about numbers, and that's it. I am not there to tell you what's wrong with your script. I'm not there to suggest a shot. I'm not there to encourage casting a certain person over another person. My job is to simply support the script. And there are various reasons for doing that, as I've gotten myself in trouble before. When you start, oh, right, I'm a writer. I'll tell you what's wrong with your script. You, yeah, I didn't like it. It was bad. Like, no, my job is to help make the film. Like, what film do you see? Great. I'm not gonna comment negative or positive on any element. I'm just going to do my job.
Is it within like a line producer's I don't know, I guess cultural
Purview?
allowance to
Yeah.
like look at a script and try to budget it and then, be willing to tell the writer, director, producer, whoever's handing it to you, like, hey, these are like really exceeding what you said you wanted. So if you're gonna cut down on something, this is where I'd cut it down and maybe move scenes over here. That might help your budget. I like
Right.
talking about it in terms of the lines. Is that allowed for the line producer?
That's a great question, Ariana. I was thinking the same thing.
It is and isn't. There's always this. I consider the. I like to let the other people do the creative math,
Mm.
but I can definitely tell them what's on the left hand side of the basic equation of, okay, you have this gigantic car chase. You see that we have multiple stunt drivers, we have multiple um, stunt vehicles that we're renting. We have to shut down a freeway. Um, we have to get a whole bunch of other cars around. It requires prep. This is a fairly big um, chunk of money, and we are $500,000 over budget. I don't know what I'm suggesting,
Right.
but these are the two things I talked about.
Right.
Yeah, it's like a clue in, I guess. It's like if
Hint,
you do
hint.
your budget and you sent it in and be like, these two areas are pretty expensive. Do what you will with that information.
Yeah.
And then there's the other part of what a budget really is in the end, or what if we're trying to make money on a film. Sometimes the biggest element is the thing that is your trailer. It gets more eyes on it, so you have to be the producers have to be able to do that math as well. Like, what are we? Yeah, absolutely. You're yeah, like we all know that we can find an actor capable of pulling this show off. Like, this film could have a really good local actor, somebody who will pay for their own hotels, and because they want the opportunity, but nobody knows who they are. Um, or you could spend $100,000 on a name. Why would you do that? You don't want to spend an extra $100,000. It's simply so that you can, maybe sell it in China, you know, because it's the thing that you want to do. Like, you can make a McDonald's burger, or you could make I'm going to go with Red Robin burger. They're all different ingredients and therefore a different price point. But you know what you're going for. That's why low budget horror films don't really have a lot of names in them very often, because there's no need. But if you're going to do an action or romantic comedy, you usually want somebody that you're familiar with, or a comedy even. Dramas you can kind of get away with unknown people, but everything changes as well. So
Yeah. Whew, that's fascinating info.
I try. If you spend enough time in these rooms listening to it, and you go, "Oh, right, that thing, right, that point."
So let's
Yeah.
dive into The Fall.
Mm.
Play on words intended. Ariana, can we get a review of this episode's film?
Ooh, this episode's film is The Fall. I loved it. I wasn't expecting to love it in the first few moments because the opening sequence was just a little bit like dramatic, like very intensely dramatic, and I thought, oh no, what's this gonna be like? And in a nutshell, this movie's about a man who gets hurt falling, and this little girl who gets hurt falling, and they connect over in the hospital, and he starts telling her this whimsical story of heroes, and it's all about, I think, in a nutshell, it's kind of about how they touch each other's lives, and mostly about how this little girl brings this light into this very, very dark soul of a man after everything he's been through. And it's a very beautiful story. And honestly, the thing that shocks me the most about this film is how, because I don't really like satirical anything. I live with it in some movies if I like the actor, whatever, but for the most part, I have a hard time sinking my teeth and connecting to something satirical. And I felt like this movie did such, I don't even know how to describe how they did it, but it was just this beautiful marriage of like these drops of satire, these drops of like whimsical, fantastical impossibilities, while also keeping it so like grounded and heartfelt, that it allowed you to experience like the feeling of a comedy or the feeling of a drama, in a single movie. The layers of it were just so amazingly done, and I was really surprised at how much I liked it after watching the opening scene. And I would give this movie. I'd give this one an A. I really, really liked it. And I am a sucker for happy endings, and so it gave me what I wanted as a simpleton movie seer. Um, so it deserves the A.
Chris,
Hmm.
what made you choose The Fall for this episode? Why do you like it? How has it influenced you?
As I love this film, and it always feels like that gem that nobody has seen. And I've got a few. I think everybody in the indie film world has a few that they've seen that you were invited to some screening at some point, and you're usually reluctantly going. Um, and this one I saw in, I think it was 2006, 2007, with some indie film people, and it just it hit me like a baseball bat. This beautiful story. No actors that I knew at the time, and still to this day, there's only one in there that you really recognize and know.
Yeah.
Still not to the level of, oh yeah, I know the name Lee Pace. It's, oh, that guy from the, yeah, he's in that guy category.
Yeah.
But it married, like you were saying, this fairly simple, straightforward, um, odd coupling of people who kind of needed each other. This little girl, and this distraught man, with this sort of mythic, epic quest thing that he was just making up on the fly, and that lovely, and it's such a beautiful film. Like the just the set pieces, although I found out that nothing is a set piece in the film, it's all practical locations. It's such a beautiful film, while also not overdoing those sort of commentary moments, which is, I think, the death of, the satirical thing. Like, we know the joke, wham, 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 just hitting it and hitting it and hitting it. They do these lovely, beautiful moments, and I realized one of them that I just loved, and it's one of those things that I rewatched it a couple times, introduced a couple of friends to it recently. Um, he's telling a story from his point of view, and he refers to one of the characters as the Indian. And the he thinks it's the guy from the silent film he was doing. So he's thinking he's explaining an indigenous person in this story, but the little girl has been working with subcontinent Asia Indian at the orange grove that she's working at. So he's in her story, it's in her mind. And it was just like one of those, it's never really said, but you watch it, you go, what does he mean? Because they start say, so he's explaining the reason the Indian hates the terrible General Odious in the film is because he stole his squaw. Like, but that's an Indian Indian, not an Indian Indian. But in her mind, it's this guy that she's been working with
Mhm.
who's from India, the country. I like those things are just, it's just a beautiful film. They don't overdo it.
Mhm.
And it has a lot of those moments of just, it grips you even though it's silly at times.
Mhm.
Like, really truly silly.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
You know. No, I just love the elements of it. I've been a
Mhm.
comparative mythology guy for a lot of my life, and this was one of the, this did it right, in my opinion. For me, it did it right.
Mhm.
Fantastic. Should we dive into the facts? And I would love to have a back and forth about the facts as well.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
We all have alternate facts now in this day and age.
I mean, I didn't want to be the one to say it. A lot of the stuff that's in this show will probably land us in higher court.
As it should.
Tarsem.
We're just doing a filmy podcast. We should absolutely be brought up on trees and
Sure. Tarsem Singh, or rather Tarsem as he is credited by his first name, is probably best known for directing commercials and music videos, such as the video for REM's 1992 hit Losing My Religion. He also directed The Cell, his feature-length film debut, which was released in 2000. The Cell was a box office hit, earning over $100 million against a $33 million budget. Despite proving that he was capable of making a box office success, Tarsem decided to break Hollywood's #1 rule. He put his own money into his next feature film, which he co-wrote with Nikos Sultanikis. Did I get that right? Nikos Sultanikis? That's what I'm going with.
You might have different emphasis to make it truly Eastern European.
Right.
But
and
I'll allow it.
We do the best we can around here.
Nikos Sultanikis and Dan Gilroy. Notably, Gilroy would go on to direct Nightcrawler, which earned him a Best Screenplay nomination at the Oscars. Tarsem wanted complete creative control over his next project, which meant putting his money where his dreams were. That passion project, 2006's The Fall, would roughly take 4 years to complete. In order to film the sequences of the story within the main narrative, Tarsem came up with a strategy to piecemeal the film together. He would only accept directing commercial jobs in foreign locations. Then he would fly out the cast members of The Fall and use the same crew of his commercial work to film the elaborate story within the film's main narrative.
Say what?
Yeah. It's kind of
genius.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. He's talking about being resourceful. Wow.
Yeah, he just like apparently I imagine that he must have like filmed the commercial in like as quickly as possible in order to like get as much time with the film with his real film.
Yeah, and it looked in. I think they said in an interview it's 24 or 25 countries that are
24 countries.
Right, just because once again, it's just a beautiful film.
Yeah,
that does go all over the place. There's a montage that has them in France, and then dum 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 dum. They're in Egypt. Dum 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 dum. And like I want to put them in India, and then someplace else, like Russia or something. Just like, and some of them are short shots, and some of them are them running around the Taj Mahal from all.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah, I remember seeing that montage and just being, like, knowing that it was practical. Like, I didn't know that until just now, but you could tell, like, they're definitely different thematic areas, and it just was confounded by, wow, they really traveled to all these locations for this 3-second shot right now?
Yeah.
That's impressive. I mean, it's really dedicated to what they wanted the film to look like.
And like
he did not want to sacrifice a thing.
No, and like now we do it with CGI, and he had a really interesting note on CGI for the film in an interview I watched on it. He said that they only use CGI to enhance. They did no green screen.
Yeah.
Because the specific note he had was in the Taj Mahal. There are these ugly telephone poles everywhere. So it was like CGI, just get rid of the telephone poles. And that blue city, that I can't remember what country he was saying. There's a city that's painted blue. It must be India because it's Hindu and Buddhist tradition for that spot where it's the blue city, where all the little houses are. They said there were people on top of roofs, and they're like, okay, just CGI those guys out, but we're not enhancing anybody. We're not adding some giant beast. We're just everything is as practical as possible. CGI is only to remove things that take away from the shot that we've got.
Which is kind of brilliant. And a lot of work on the production.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm sure you've heard of this. Hopefully,
Mhm.
but Orson Welles, we've talked about him a number of times on the show. You know the famous like how Orson Welles shot his version of Othello, right?
Yeah,
Maybe.
please reinform.
Gotcha. No worries. So literally, he would film a little bit of Othello in like in one country, in like Morocco, for example. He would film one shot in Morocco, and then the reverse shot he would film like months later, thousands of miles away later, later, and after doing like a commercial job, like acting. So like for example, there's one shot where a guy punches another guy in the face, then that guy gets punched thousands of miles away months later.
A good punch. That's anime level.
Right, right, yeah.
Yeah, that it's amazing because I've worked on a lot of films where our job independently is to figure out how few days we can shoot,
Hmm.
how we can utilize multiple locations in a clever, useful way. But what this film tells me, it incredibly difficult to pull off,
Yeah.
but that there was a vision and it was not going to be compromised, that it's a labor of love, and it like I couldn't imagine working a job where I get a call like 6 months after we shot some scene and like, "Okay, we're finally going to Thailand to shoot this commercial. Can you get everybody together so that we can shoot this one scene, um, right after I'm done?" We're supposed to be wrapping the commercial for Toyota or whatever on
Yeah.
on the 26th. So 27th through 29th, we'll be shooting this scene in Thailand, and then just send it to the editor, and we'll see you in another couple of years.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's going to be January. You don't know if it's going to be June, but we got to shoot the other scene.
Wow.
And imagine keeping that cast together
Yeah.
throughout all that time.
What?
Yeah.
There are rare films that can do that. It's absolutely difficult in the low budget world to
Hmm.
even get some cast members to come back to do ADR,
Yeah.
like because they made a mistake during filming. Like we just need you to go into a booth and say this line 3 times for a full day rate. There are audio booths all over the place. Do you have time to do it? And it might take you 6 months to get that actor
Jeez.
into a
Wow.
room. So like this, I think he had to go after. I think the reason there aren't a lot of stars in it, if any, outside of Mr. Pace, is that they needed absolutely to find people who were banking their careers on it.
Yeah.
Like this is the step.
Another reason why The Fall took so long to complete was that Tarsem insisted on filming the main narrative, in which a Romanian born child is told a story by a bedridden stuntman in a Los Angeles hospital, in chronological order. Just so the audiences know, most films are filmed out of sequence based on the availability of the actors, locations, crew, etc. Filming in chronological order adds time and cost to film productions. In fact, filming the hospital sequences alone took 12 weeks.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
that's longer than most film shoots.
Right.
Yeah, a lot.
If we were budgeting this for low film, it's about half of it. It's about an hour 20, so probably around 60 pages. So maybe 2 weeks is what we'd really give it in a first budget pass from my brain as a line producer. But in the interview, like that, and that little girl was so adorable and right
Yeah.
for this film, based on things that he said, and it makes sense that you would do it this way. Working with children is exceptionally difficult.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted a girl with the right accent or dialect to her.
Hmm.
She didn't know a lot of English. Apparently, he also never told anybody in the crew as well that Lee was able to walk,
Yeah.
so that the little girl thought he truly was hurt.
Yeah.
Like that level of and working with kids and trying to get those honest, lovely reactions that she has takes forever because you're basically having a conversation that you're filming because you can't say, "Can you say that with a little bit more emotion?" You have to rely on the director and the actor, the adult actor, to get that performance out of the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess another fun thing that I read in an interview is since she wasn't speaking English and she only talked to Tarsem, the director, a lot, she started taking on his Indian accent a little bit. So they had to hire Romanian Romanian English speakers that Tarsem would talk to then talk to the little girl so she maintained her accent.
Wow, I didn't know
Oh
that.
my gosh.
I just saw it
Yeah,
in
I
an
guess when
interview
you're
this
young, you're
morning.
like impressionable, right? If you spend all that time with someone, you're gonna pick it up faster than, an adult would.
Yeah,
So that
uh,
makes sense.
but all of that just is just amazing, right?
Yeah.
If you care about the performance, you have to occasionally argue with somebody like me. Um,
We
you know,
need
and
somebody who speaks Romanian to talk with her on set.
like, well, we don't have that in the budget. "Hmm, we can shoot all of this in 2 weeks. Yeah, but creatively, we want this to happen. We need this feel, and if you're looking for a certain feel, a certain look, a certain location, um, without spending a bunch of money on it, you need to take your time. You need to have those that you need to have the non-creatives on your team to understand what they're attempting to create.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, people like me, other production managers, what I would call a production producer, the people like us who just are we're there for our paycheck. That's what we're doing. Rarely are we really engaged in the creative vision, um, and we're just doing the job.
Yeah.
Right.
So when a film like this comes along, like it reminds me of doing really great theater pieces that um, transform half the audience by watching them because they're in the space with you
Yeah.
and you don't necessarily you know you're not going to make any money in the theater. You know that what you're going to be doing is building something beautiful, hopefully, that and you don't even know why you're crying at the end of the film. You just know that you are,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's magic. That's the magic of art.
right?
Mhm.
Like that's another reason I really love it is like I try to break it down and figure it out. No idea. Like it's you're watching a dude who's hurt influence the story and because of his connection to this child turns it from a tragedy into a heroic epic moment
Mhm.
and he's saved by her wanting his story to go okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In order to further convince the crew that Pace couldn't walk, Pace walk.
Yeah.
Um, you're
Andrew.
welcome.
In
You're
his Lee
welcome.
jeans,
What's that?
in his Lee jeans is
Right. Right.
or his
Um,
Lee legs.
there you go. Well done, sir.
Gonna
He
double
would
down on the puns.
nice. Um, Tarsem would have Pace wheeled to the restroom by a male nurse. So that's another paycheck right there.
Right. And a a wheelchair rental, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, and I guess the crew was a little bit cranky at him because like this wasted time. Which reasonably I'd lose. How's
They
your
they
swearing policy?
they found
Go
out on the
for it.
last day of filmmaking. They found out on the last day of filmmaking
Right.
of the film that he could walk.
But I'd lose my shit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
like we've been doing all of this and spending this extra however much time. Like you'd understand it, but there'd be a little bit of but you can't expect a whole bunch of people to keep that secret, right?
Yeah, yeah,
It
uh,
would slip out,
yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, Lee Pace would go on to play Ronan the Accuser in Guardians of the Galaxy and Captain Marvel.
and that's where you
So,
know him. Yeah.
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 And he's one of the Elven kings and one of the Lord of the Rings
And the
thingies.
Hobbit
Mhm.
trilogy, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, he likes it. He's good at playing bad guys, apparently, but I really liked him as a lead with the acting training and working in theater and film. Like he's he's a compelling actor
Mhm.
who doesn't necessarily look like he would be one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's got the chops, as we say.
Yeah. Even in those like fantastical scenes where he's supposed to be like a little bit exaggerated, a little bit cheesy, it doesn't like take you away from what's going on. I mean, I guess a lot of that is director being a master,
Yeah,
and telling the actors what to do. None of those fantastical scenes felt too absurd. It was
even
just
though
enough.
they tried, there
The
was some.
best when the sword broke. They're like in the very first fight scene where you see the Indian like hack one of the dog soldiers. I'm just calling them that because they sound like dogs. It
Yeah.
like instantly breaks, and it was my first moment of like, oh, this might be a bit of a satire because it was so ridiculous. But
Yeah,
they just like keep it rolling.
yeah, it was great. Like I still like one of my favorite little moments is when the princess or his intended is revealed. Like the little girl has to go to the bathroom, so they're having this dramatic sort of really cheesy, fairy tale love scene of this is why my heart is doing this. My heart is doing, and she's just sitting there shaking like she has to pee too in the epic. It's just
Uh-huh.
you have to go. It's right down the.
Right.
Yeah.
So they really once again, it's just this nice little moment when everything feels tense, and the music too really helped,
Hmm.
I think.
Absolutely. By the way, speaking of filming in sequence, the main actor, the main actress, the kid actor,
Mhm.
she showed up on the first day of filming with her front baby teeth missing. So if they had been filming out of sequence, it
Right.
would have been screwed up because the progression of her teeth growing would have been different from scene to scene. But since they were filming in order, her teeth would just grow.
Grow.
They
Yeah.
start
That
missing. Yeah.
yeah, another problem that adult actors shouldn't have.
Hmm.
We might have that problem, but
Right.
Shouldn't.
yeah,
Being aware is the first step.
because haven't multiple actors like chipped a tooth on set and like, okay, immediate dental surgery
Yeah.
to make sure you can complete the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you could just go Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber and actually get your tooth chipped. I think he did
Did he
that.
really?
I double checked me, but I seem to remember that being the case where he was like playing Lloyd in Dumb and Dumber and he got his tooth chipped
Oh my god.
so that he had a little bit of a going on.
Oh my gosh.
Jim Carrey might be a bit eccentric. I think that's might be
I
safe
don't
to say.
know.
Yeah, they're tiny. I think yeah,
It's possible.
yeah. There's
And thank goodness for that.
right. Sometimes it really works out.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, thank goodness it's normal for kids' teeth to fall out. I think it added to her innocence quite a bit. But
yeah,
man, wasn't she something? I couldn't believe how authentic
She
her
was good.
conversations were. The
She was
whole like saving his soul conversation with the bread.
mhm,
I made me wonder like how much of this film is improvised. Is it improvised? Are these real lines and they just kind of have to chat with each other until they find the script lines? That's what it felt like.
right. Well, what it sounded like from interview from Tarsem was that he, excuse me, gave her, he gave Lee sort of the almost like you're doing improv. Like this is this is the information we got to get out in this scene. This is where the story's going. These are your kind of lines, but I'll let you know when we finally get it out of her.
yeah.
So just I guess that line didn't elicit the response we're after. Let's maybe
Right.
those words you don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I loved her just what?
Uh-huh.
Uh, I don't. It's not they lie. I didn't do a thing. It's
That was brilliant too.
right.
Yeah.
You're
Can you
so
write me
cute.
that down? Yes. No. No, I didn't lie. Yes.
I use the thing, and you say the thing, and I don't know the thing. And why?
Uh-huh.
The Fall had its debut at the Toronto Film Festival, where it received negative reviews. Despite later reappraisal of the film, the damage had been done. The Fall did not receive distribution in the United States for over 10 months, and when it was distributed, it earned $3.7 million against a $30 million budget.
Oh.
Box office bomb, sadly.
Yep.
As it goes in the world of independent filmmaking.
But it's not. It's not a sexy film.
It's not
Uh,
marketable.
yeah, you don't have your usual tempo. The Cell, I think, is a worse film. It's still a really it's a beautiful film to watch. It's exceptionally interesting. The conceit of The Cell, entering the mind of a serial killer and just letting it happen is bananas. Like, it is really a and, D'Onofrio,
Vincent
uh,
D'Onofrio.
yeah. If you've not seen The Cell, like, D'Onofrio being D'Onofrio. It was before they really I think it was the film right around those films where the great actors of our time did the thing where everybody went, "What?" Like Gary Oldman in The Professional,
Hmm.
Mm.
or when you first saw, um, what's his name? Alan Rickman in, Die Hard,
Yeah.
and you're like, "That guy can wow, well done." Like,
Yeah.
The Cell was D'Onofrio being D'Onofrio. Amazing, performance. And Jennifer Lopez wasn't all that bad either, although I think her best film role is Out of Sight, um, which is another film I would have absolutely I should have written down for this one. Um, wildly underloved and a great soundtrack. When soundtracks mattered, outside of the Guardians films. Um, yeah, like, but there was this like, The Cell is this beautiful film, very similar in its aesthetic. You could see the similarities, big, bold colors, giant set pieces, very mythologically based, but not as strong a film, in my opinion, as the writing. But it does it. But you have J Lo and Vincent D'Onofrio in a film that made a ton of money. And then you have Lee Pace, who was unknown, still fairly unknown, like, ooh, that guy sort of person still. Um, oh, right, that guy, right. Um, you didn't have like if you put Tom Cruise in this, different story. And I think he could pull it off, but they didn't have Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's not. It takes it. It's a film that film people like. And they had to make it for 30 million in order to do what they did. But
Honestly, I'm surprised they made it for 30 million given what they did.
well, I think it's to me it's the longevity of a thing. I would rather have this in my life, and I think Tarsem would as well. We'd rather have small people infecting others with the fall, because I would imagine that if anybody comes up to you and says 5 films that are beautiful, like beautifully shot, like, this is one of those things that film people love to talk about.
Mm.
Like, this is that film, and it didn't make a ton of money. Um, it's the difference in between art and business, right? Like, there's some accountant who's pissed off right now about this film. Like, "We didn't make any money on it. I don't care. I've never seen it." And then there are the people like us who I spent $30 for just the DVD, not even the
Mm.
Blu-ray version of it, so that I could take it. I had to dust off like my PlayStation 4 to go to a friend's place so that they could watch it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's that sort of film. Like, you
Yeah.
want it to be that.
Could you? You mentioned in your email to us that there's a reason that it's not like available to rent on
Or
streaming
stream.
services or stream.
Right. Well, there are a bunch of films from the early 2000s, Dogma being the most. I think Dogma is the best known one. Fortunately, I have like a really cool VHS or Blu-ray copy of it from back in the day.
Mhm.
Um,
I have a Blu-ray. Yeah,
yeah, because it's a fun film.
yeah,
That one is shut down because nobody wants the Weinsteins to make more money.
yeah.
The Fall seems to just have not found a home. Um, Tarsem, in an interview that I think was just a couple of days ago, I did a little bit of work this morning to make sure that I sounded like a person
Thank
that
you. Thank you.
knew a thing. Uh, it's like, right, I think I know these things about the film. I should put them in my brain. Um, but it looks like he's trying to get Criterion to do it, and I think this is a perfect Criterion film. There are some films that are Criterion that, in my opinion, should not be Criterion. Like, this is a critically acclaimed film. Ebert back in the day loved it.
Roger Ebert. Yeah,
Yeah,
just. I mean, I'm sure. Just so people have more context, Roger Ebert. Sorry.
Mhm.
yeah, no worries. I shorthanded it because I'm on a last name basis with the Eves.
Sure.
Um,
As we are
um,
all.
right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. To me, there's this. Uh, and I'm going to assume it's in a couple of places. It's the we need to make some more money back, so no, I'm not going to release it for that little. Um, which is strange as to why they don't have it streaming on Prime at the very least. I was actually shocked that I couldn't get it on Prime and just put it in that like I love a couple of other TV series that I didn't know were going to come out, and so I just bought the season, and it's up in my little Prime owned video collection. Couldn't find this, and um, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me because you would imagine that they want to make the occasional 10, $20 from somebody like me, but I don't know. Yeah, I've been looking as to the exact why, and I can't seem to find it, but that's my guess is that they want to recoup more money and they haven't made the right deal yet.
Mm,
That's my guess too. I haven't been able to find an exact reason either.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the companies are probably like, well, you didn't make that much money, so just throw it to us. It's not that big a deal. But he's probably seeing the value in the fact that the film is amazing and it is worth more than what it made. So he doesn't
Yeah.
want to be shortchanged for all the work. That's worthy of being, have a decent price tag.
Yeah, it's not like one of those Marvel films that you're like, we've made a decent amount of money on Guardians 3, so we need to hold off um, until we get a better deal. This is a good film that deserves some money, and I have no idea how you would market it at the moment
Mm.
to recoup tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You would have to honestly re-release it, and there's not much of a reason to do so for the public. Like, I'd want to go see it in theater. Like, one of the reasons I have space out here, I'm hoping at some point, like, this would be one of the first films that I put up on a if I had a projector,
Yeah.
backyard, popcorn and wine something. I'm not sure how good that combo is, but um,
I think that sounds great.
right,
The
Solid
but
salt,
combo.
the salt, so much salt.
right, the buttered Malbec something with just little kernels on the top.
Right.
Oh my
I'm a
god.
mixologist now. But like, it's one of those films. Some films don't need to be put up on the big screen, and this feels like, oh my god, I absolutely want to show this film. And if I were teaching a class on filmmaking, like an intro to film, I'd put this in there as this is why we do it.
Yeah.
This is the dream when you start writing or directing or acting, is to create something, or being a cinematographer.
Yeah.
This is what you do. It's not every other job where you go, I don't really need to go to the premiere. I don't necessarily care. I'm busy. on Thursday when you guys are doing the premiere.
Yeah.
Like this one, like this is a film. This is a
Yeah.
movie I want
I
to see.
agree. There's not really an element of filmmaking that it doesn't, hit. Some movies are really beautiful, but they're lacking something in like the plot or the writing, or some writing is so good, but the quality is low in terms of sound
Yeah.
or something. And this movie does not do that. It hits everything that you want in a great film. So I'm really surprised that it didn't make more money. Maybe it was just the crowds back then. I mean, early 2000s were what, like action movies and comedies mostly.
Yeah, and the other part is that it's familiar. Like, it rides this really nice line of being familiar enough, but also new,
Mm-hmm.
which is the sweet spot for storytelling in my humble opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And it does bring up a couple of, like, I looked up the why they have an R rating for it. That
Yeah.
was the thing that actually shocked me the most while looking through it. An R rating.
What?
Yeah. Um, it's because of the violence and the attempted suicide.
Mhm.
Oh,
And you're like,
still.
"Violence? There's not a lot of violence here."
No, and it's not like bloody or anything. The bloodiest part is when he like impales himself at the end.
Right. Which is kind of
Which is
funny.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, or they brought up, I think it was in the R rating report, was the mystic getting the birds flying out while he was,
Yeah.
Oh,
and then the arrows, which I thought was just a beautiful moment, the lay down death with the arrows
yeah.
in the slaves,
Oh yeah.
back when he lays down and on the bed of arrows that are impaled.
Yeah, there's
That's an
so many
image.
of them.
Yeah, right? It's a beautiful image. It's like, this is so tragic and sad, but it makes sense because he's like, "I want all of these people to die horribly, so you, little girl, know that life is terrible." Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
nobody gets what they want. Every death is tragic and horrible.
Yeah.
Um, you're not gonna get a happy ending.
But he still had him smile and say it's okay.
Yeah,
It was almost like I want to show you all these horrible things, but I can't help myself. I'm
right.
still going to have him smile for some reason that I don't understand.
Yeah. No, and I think those are the things, like, this is it's one of those really lovely things because I have my opinion as to why, he'd put that in there like that, but it's also this is why this is one of those good films. It's the coffee and pie conversation after watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, that was really neat. Why would I do?" How many films make you do that?
Yeah.
Like, where you're like, "I wanna go with this specific person, I wanna go watch this movie, and then we're gonna go get, coffee and pie, and we're gonna sit there and talk about and this part, that," yeah, like,
Yeah.
this is what I love about this film. Like, most films now, I feel like, you put on the background almost while you're playing on
Yeah.
your phone, or, like, I watch TV shows while I'm budgeting or working on whatever else, and then
Hmm.
in comes a film where you actually have to, like,
Yeah.
stop and watch it. Like, right, I was
Yeah.
supposed to be working, or
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not chit-chatting about it in frustration either. I
right,
feel like sometimes a lot of movies that try to be complex nowadays or try to like be super artistic, um, sometimes they lean on like the shock value almost. They want to surprise you and in such a way that it leaves you kind of dissatisfied. Like, really, what was the point of that? And you have to contemplate it in order to understand.
right,
This movie, I feel like I felt everything I was supposed to feel. It's simple in the sense that it takes you on the journey and it kind of tells you where to go in just an honest way, and it's not trying to confuse you
right,
or shock you or make you contemplate existence forcibly. It's just very natural and honest, and like I said, it takes you on that feelings journey to the point where afterwards you look at the art of it and you can understand and you can theorize, and it kind of touches everybody in a different way, and it's not something that leaves you like, oh, why do I have to think this through? You want
right,
to you want to feel through it, you want to understand it.
right. It just doesn't feel like one of those films that in, like, film school or whatever, I have to write an essay on this crap.
Yeah.
Like, I want to explore it and figure it out because I'd want to emulate that. I'd wanna do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there are so few films that hit that note of it feels brilliant without trying to without saying, "Look how brilliant I am."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and a lot of films do that, like, a lot of thrillers, like, "Look at our twist." Uh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Alright, fine. Look at all our cool CGI monster thingies. Alright.
Yeah.
You
I
did
guess
that
that.
on a computer, right? Yeah. Mm, yeah.
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 Okay.
Mhm,
So I am done with my facts. Ariana, Chris,
mhm.
what are your final closing thoughts on the fall? Just to wrap everything up. Unless you have more facts, Chris.
I'm gonna see if I do. I made a little notes section. Just wanna see what is happening here? Why do you not like me phone thing? Alright, fine. 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 The one
Pull
thing
it
that I
from the memory bank.
right, I'll try. The one that, that really interested me in the IMDb, for the
Oh yeah.
crew on this one was that they normally you have, like, one line producer or, and then they hire a bunch of people in other countries, but they have line producers all over the globe. Like, scrolling through the credits on this one, it looks like, a James Bond film. Like, it's insanity. The amount of team that put this together was what was global. It was insanely giant, and I can't imagine the amount of work that went into it for the core team of producers because they just every time you have to hire. Okay, we're going to this country. We need an entire crew to make this happen.
Yeah.
You know, really. Oh, and they didn't shoot like the fun fact that I ran into, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." They didn't shoot LA for LA in the 1920s, they shot it in South Africa.
What?
Yeah, so the cars all have the steering wheel on the wrong side.
Oh
No
man.
kidding. That's right.
Yep. So they'll be you'll see a car and go, "Wait." Like, if you're really paying attention, like one of those little Easter eggy things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never saw it and paid attention to it, like, I didn't see it in the movie, go, "Ha ha ha! You in the West, look at that."
Yeah.
It was one of those, "Oh, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess next time I introduce somebody to it, I'm going to look at that and seem really cool and smart."
Yeah. It makes sense because if they were going for the whole practical effects things, you're not going to find a place in Los Angeles that looks like the 20s. It's just,
Right,
Yeah. Yeah.
it'd be too hard in the early 2000s. So the fact they had to go somewhere completely on the other side of the world is amazing and impressive that they found it.
right,
I mean, whoever that set person is like, I'm going to go find it.
right, the location
Find the
manager,
1920s Los Angeles over in South Africa. I'll be right back.
right, as opposed to the usual location manager, we need a garage and coffee shop and an office building and then 3 apartments and then a park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll find us a park. There's like, we need a giant ceremonial place because we have this map dance that a bunch of mystics do. We'd love it to be really green and that
Speaking of
beautiful
that
theme,
scene, I
right?
I swear I watched that and I'm like, this is where Avatar got it from. It's like identical to the tree scene in the first movie. I
Right? It's
couldn't
just
believe that.
beautiful. We run into a tribe in the middle of, I don't even know where that is, but it feels like a Southeast Asia, probably somewhere in there, maybe a Thailand. But God, that was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And simple, and you get it without them explaining it too much, you get it.
Yeah.
Um, like, I think we all have it goes back to all that, mythology stuff. It's like we all without knowing what's going on, there's, like, something in us that goes, "Okay,
I can accept that.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's
this makes sense."
primal.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, exactly, there's something in the back of our shirt wearing, driving around brains that goes, "Yup." I get that. Okay, there's a magic thing happening. Nobody sits here and explains it.
Mm-mm.
Dude starts eating the map, having issues with it, and then all these guys just come out of nowhere and do this magical dance thingy.
Which was so cool. That was one of my favorite shots when he's laying down, you think he's gone, and then all of a sudden all his homies come up out of the ground all at
Right?
one time. It
Yeah.
almost looked like a mudslide of people
Yeah.
surrounding him. It was really cool.
It takes you back to those, like, it felt like, and you can see the music, sort of music video probably approach to it with
Hmm.
dancers,
Yeah.
because dancers are really good at coming up with interesting ways of showing a thing through movement that
Mm.
the rest of the art world's like, well, we could say it, uh, we could paint it, maybe, but yeah, the combo of the arts in here, I'm assuming they have a choreographer that was just like, "Okay, this is what we're going to do."
Hmm. Yeah. My favorite set piece though is that giant piece of cloth in the middle of the desert
Right.
with the crew all bloodied at the bottom and the red going up. That
Yeah.
was my favorite. I couldn't believe that thing.
Wasn't it just, and practical? They I'm not sure if they CGI'd that. I almost think they must have, but
Because it's so massive. I mean, the bottom portion was practical. I don't know if the actual piece was real, but
right, when they do the long shot on it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was I really loved those elements of, because it also wasn't, it made sense in the world, but it wasn't like, "This is the thing we're doing in every scene."
Yeah.
Which is like, this is just a nice massive set piece. It's simple. Um, it kind of reminded me of the art coming out of like Japan or China, when it's just
Hmm.
so specific and clean. There was something very calligraphy-ish about it,
Yeah.
like something Crouching Tiger about it. Like, if you like Crouching Tiger, this is a very similar, beautiful film.
Hmm.
Or Hero.
Yeah, I've seen Hero. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great.
And the story changing based upon the narrator and
Mhm.
why. Like, Hero confused the crap out of me the first time I saw it. It's like, "This is profound, but I need to watch it like 7 more times."
Right, right, right.
Like, I don't quite get it. I'm reading the subtitles, but I'm also watching the rain hit the spear, and then yeah, there's a beauty to it that,
Yeah.
um, we just don't get when we're rushing film in this
Mm.
sense.
Gosh. So true.
Yeah. Right? Like, if you wanna capture this is the best lesson for people in why you take your time.
Yeah. And don't compromise on the vision you have for the film.
Yeah. Regardless of making the money back, it's one of the most beautiful films, that I have a feeling will stand the test of time, because it's one of the nice things about shooting a film in a different era. Like, if you're shooting 2023 for 2023, it's kind of locked into our time. All
Hmm.
of a sudden it becomes the past, as opposed to being a film shot in a different era that kind of has a timelessness to it.
Yeah. I think so too.
Yeah.
Chris, my final question for you.
Yes.
What do you have to promote?
What I have to promote? At the moment, not much. If anybody wants to fund a film or theater project, please call me immediately. Uh,
Okay, can
um,
people follow you somewhere? Can
oh, I'm on Facebook. I'm such a country old man. In some ways, I have to get into those things. I'm currently working on a one-person show about mental health in the arts that'll
nice.
Wow.
hopefully work. Yeah, hopefully. I'm waiting on dates to premiere in Sacramento, get the bugs out, and then traipse about the English-speaking world, hopefully. I hope I'm engaging and useful enough. Um, yeah, just producing a documentary at the moment that, should illuminate the this will be completely out of left field, for everything I talk about. Producing a documentary about white hat hackers or information security,
Hmm.
with the people that save us from being hacked and whatnot, in for everything from Ring doorbells to the Department of Defense.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
It's really weird. Um, it's one of those educational experiences for me when I got hired to work on it.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is not your usual reality show. This is fantastic.
There's gotta be a lot of interesting stories in the world of hackers and
Yeah.
avoiding and defending us from hackers.
Right, and how much we don't understand,
Yeah.
like, we the muggles, like, I consider a lot of people muggles to various things, like, you don't we if I explain to you the job, like, you go, "Oh, I didn't know that exists, but that absolutely makes sense that that
Yeah.
exists. I do not know how I did not know that."
Chris Smith, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
on this episode of Behind the Flicks.
Real quick,
Oh.
real
Yeah.
quick, Andrew, I have not heard your voice enough on today's podcast.
What do
I
you
want to
mean?
know your thoughts,
Oh
your final
no,
thoughts on this
no.
film. Yes,
Yeah.
we always take your turn, and you didn't take your turn this time, and I need to hear the brilliance of Mr. Gentile's opinion on this beautiful movie.
Oh no.
Hated
Come
it.
on.
Not enough sex
No,
and not enough,
no, I didn't. Okay, hold on. Hold on. There was a reason I was trying to avoid that. No. I thought it was good. I didn't think it was great. I thought it was good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought it
That's
was
not so hard.
no. That's the whole point of the show is that we all have differing opinions, and
Yes.
one of our previous episodes was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I
Mhm.
try to treat each film with the same majesty as Citizen Kane or Lawrence Arabia
Mhm.
and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And this is anyway, my point being
Which TMNT was
The
it, though?
first one.
1990, the
Yeah.
1990.
Okay, so the really dark one that well, the as compared to the latter things,
Sure.
make these guys a little more fun, please. We need to
Right.
sell toys,
No, but
not worry about
my point being is I try to judge all movies equally,
Mhm.
Mhm.
with the same majesty as I would with Lawrence Arabia or Citizen Kane
Yeah.
or Vertigo or what have you.
Right.
All films are hard to make, and they all deserve a fair
Yeah.
shake.
Yeah.
The Fall, I thought, I thought it looked visually very beautiful. I think I think it was I mean it definitely I feel like I would like it more upon seeing it again.
Mhm.
Um
Mhm.
and it's something that I need to sit on for a while. I think it would have been in like the hands of a Terry Gilliam who directed Brazil and directed
Moonchild.
all these crazy movies like Time Bandits.
Right.
I think if they had really lead into like the imagery of like a fantastic even more like a fantastical weird kind of imagery and also kind of had more complex main characters. I
Mhm.
because not and maybe that was the right approach for the audience of like general audiences or just audiences who watch this film. But in terms of myself, it just wasn't. It didn't hit me in the same way as would a little more, just a touch, just a teeny bit more complexity. That's all,
Mm.
That,
and a little bit more of like a journey through the main narrative. That's all. I don't
Yeah.
know.
that makes sense, and, it's
And I
the
mean
it's
no offense.
no, oh, well, some
Never.
take absolutely some take it. Um, no,
Uh
it's
oh.
the journey of, mythology a lot of the time,
Yeah.
and it's one of the main criticisms of, mythological epics. Like, one of the biggest complaints about the modern audience for things like the Bible or the Odyssey or, you name it in um, older works that are epic in format is the lack of understanding how to novelize or really create complex we just see the things they do, the things they say versus you don't have like the thing that would humanize Jesus to us today if we were writing that character, him going to a coffee shop. We don't have we have perfect beings a lot of the time
Mhm.
doing these doing these things. We're like, oh, okay, we don't humanize them,
Yeah.
and the complexity angle is definitely in the what are the faults of the character? What are they in the writing terms? What is it?
The wants versus the needs, the faults versus the strengths.
Yeah, like what is the character flaw?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy, he does. If you just took him straight, like if you divorced the dream from it, just him telling a story to a kid, you would have a character that you're kind of like, dude, yeah, it sucks, but get over
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
it.
No, you're
Um,
right. I think that's fair analysis because it is fairly simple. I mean, the little girl, her whole history is fairly simple, and you don't see her greatly deal with it outside of the fact that she wants to hang around this guy because she doesn't have her father anymore.
yeah.
Yeah, they
So
feel like episodes. It feels like an episode,
yeah,
uh, like not a major character journey. Um, yeah, it feels like an hour drama, sort of mid-season. Oh, we're getting closer to the plot, sort of.
Yeah. I should also I have to say, Tarsem is clearly an artist. Like, it's kind of like to say that a work of art is wrong is kind of a moot point.
Right.
It's kind of like this. Tarsem's clearly an artist. He knew what he was doing. He knew the vision he wanted, and he got it out there. It just wasn't my cup of tea.
yeah,
Right. As
Um,
many artists are. Like, but, okay, I get it.
yeah,
Not for me. There are plenty of films in that I know people who have gone, this is amazing and beautiful and wonderful. I'm like, I love that you love it. I
yeah,
don't
genuinely.
care.
No,
Yeah.
I was really hooked by by two sequences in the film, and the rest I thought were very good. Um, range from very good to good. The
yeah,
opening title sequence I loved. It was kind of like it portrayed the story that it landed the stuntman at the hospital, while at the same time not directly telling it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
And
was mysterious enough. You're
yeah,
like, how do all of these shots as puzzle pieces come together?
yeah,
yeah,
And
that
on
you
second viewing, absolutely, it's a lot more fun.
absolutely. And then the second sequence I liked was after the child in the movie gets a concussion, and what goes into that animated sequence,
Right, that
and I
puppet
was
movement.
like,
Yeah.
wow, they're really going for it.
yeah,
And then the stuntman has the talk with the child, and he's showing all this emotion immediately after the animated sequence. That was great. I
yeah,
wish they did more of that.
Right. No, and I could see it. If you're a Terry Gilliam, I want to say City of Children,
Mm,
the French film with Ron Perlman.
mm,
Um, I think that's the right one. But yeah, if you're in the Terry Gilliam camp of like I want fantastical and weird, I can absolutely see how this film is the big, bold color, beautiful, not kind of um, dirty, tongue in cheek Terry Gilliam approach to things. Like, oh, you're telling me a myth,
right.
but I want it to be like this.
Well, and again, I, yeah, I want. That's not really from as an audience member for me to say because this guy's an artist,
hmm
Yeah,
um, and it's not really. I try not to impose my will on on a work of art. I'm just saying this is what I think for me could be improved. That's all.
yeah, yeah,
and I would throw in there that'll change as you get older. I
Good.
definitely force my will on.
Oh, I see. I see.
It's like yeah, for me, it's like I love it when somebody does this. Like I wasn't a big fan of the show Legion,
Mm.
and it's right in my wheelhouse. It makes perfect sense why I would love that show, and I just found it okay. Loved Preacher, and people have gone, "Why?"
Yeah.
It's like, because I do. That's just me. It's fine. Yeah,
Ariana has frequently characterized me as like this artsy lover. My one of my genuinely my top 10 favorite films is The Muppet Christmas Carol.
it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
Outside of the Marley and Marley song, I think that
No.
would be
No. I love that.
It's such a weak moment in that
How
film.
dare you? How dare you?
See, I enforce my will upon the Muppets, and they're brilliant and amazing.
Anywho, I've alienated Chris enough. Chris Smith, thank you so much for joining our program.
Thank you.
It's been a lovely conversation. I love getting to know you, and I'm fabulous, and I totally respect your journey in filmmaking, and I'm really glad that you came on the show and helped support our chat.
Very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always fun to do these sorts of things because they're it reminds you why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future episodes, feel free to shoot us an email at independentcareerstudios@gmail.com. If you like this episode, please write a review and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, or YouTube. We'd love to hear your feedback. Behind the Flicks was created by myself and Ariana. I wrote and edited this episode. My name is Andrew Gentile. It's been an Independent Career Studios production. Sorry, I had to do that little
It's
You have
perfect.
little end tag.
don't know why I had to sit through it.
Right. Yeah, okay, I could have had you left. I could have had you leave and then Ariana and I could have done our own.
Such a sour note to end on.
Right. Fair enough.
We like to be well-rounded around here. You can't have you be too happy the whole time.
Right. Yeah. I like that I get to be a brat with you guys. It's fun.
Well, and I am used to being a punching bag.
Aw.
It makes me feel welcome.
Yeah.
Makes me feel at home.
Oh man.
And we care
now
about
we
you,
have to
so,
do the
you know.
therapy episode.
Right.
Like, don't be that guy. It's okay.
I'll be okay, buddy.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys.
Now go get his coffee.
Agreed.
No,
Well,
guys,
thank you so much, Chris.
No, it's been nice. I'm hoping to do a podcast on mental health for artists at some point. So
Ooh.
doing stuff like this lets me see different formats, secretly in world domination plans. That's the
Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, nothing. I had fluff comments about coffee. 'Cause
Yes.
I think we all
Right.
have ours.
Yeah, I'm nice. I've got just old Yosemite
Oh,
National
nice.
Park.
That's a cool mug.
I got a science.
There you go. See, nice.
Oh,
There we go.
Andrew wins.
No.
Superman.
Yosemite. That's a pretty good
This
one.
is just like old grandparents. I'm really leaning into being in my mid 40s. Just like, fine, bring it on.
What do you mean? You're like 23, right?
No, this whole thing is moisturized 44.
No, come on now.
No.
Yeah.
Seriously, I've got a niece. She's like in 7th grade, and I'm never allowed to use the old comment for the most part. But when I'm around her, I lean. I'm like, I'm old. You take care of this for me. Listen to everything I have to say.
But it's great. I love being this age as people have finally, as anybody under 30 knows, they start actually taking you seriously, like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you've finally decided, I don't care about these things.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if other people know. I don't care. No, do you want to go to this? No.
Right.
Love you guys. I wish you all the health, wealth, and happiness in the world. But I don't want to do that. That is unimportant.
Yeah, they understand the no and they take it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Or they don't, but you don't care.
Yeah.
That's the real power of aging. It's like, I figured myself out well enough. I'm okay. I don't need to do that. And if somebody doesn't like it, then they're not your person. That's fine.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I love that. I love this life lesson interlude to movie talk.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of thinking on it recently. Like, aging kind of sucks because of the knees and the lower back and all that fun stuff. But no, I'm good. I don't need to do any of that crap.
Yeah. Unless you have kids, in which case, yeah, that's a whole other world.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't. I just have
Good for you.
a puppy and
Uh-huh.
Oh,
kitty and a bunch of cows.
nice.
I have to ask because it's killing me. Is that Tyrion Lannister on your back wall?
Yes.
Yes.
It as is my role is generally a executive weirdo. Uh, I need Tyrion to remind me, never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not.
Yeah.
Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's got the greatest quotes of that whole show. I mean, everyone's got their one-liners, but Tyrion's the master.
yeah. That one when it came out made me get a little weepy because I was like, that is the best way to talk to other artists, and you hope that they get there. They're like,
Yeah.
you're an artist, you're weird, it's okay.
Yeah.
You have a job to do, and thank God the rest of the world is not weird like you.
Yeah.
We need them, they need us. That's all.
I think this movie is a perfect example of somebody very weird making a brilliant film.
Right? Have you seen some interviews with Tarsem? I was just watching a couple this morning to like bone up. So I
Yeah.
thought I knew stuff about the film and then went, I should make sure I know stuff about it. Like that dude, I can understand why there's a little bit of like can you imagine negotiating with like a distribution deal with that guy sometime? Like
Right.
you're a little intense and seem to God, I don't like casting aspersions, but there is that feel like I've been in the room with that guy,
Oh, no kidding.
that sort of person.
Oh.
Mm.
Um, yeah, but like, I don't know if you know what you're talking about. You seem very confident and you're very
Yeah.
demanding.
Yeah, whoever invested in this movie was really taking a leap, I feel like.
Right.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Ooh, yes.
I have my facts here. I have my script here.
Cool. I wrote down some notes as well. I hope because it's such a is it
Yes.
we could talk for like 2 hours around the film.
Yeah.
Mm.
All of the nonsense that
I got time.
right?
Yeah.
Um. Okay. Just to let you guys know, I'm absolutely 100% going to edit this into the
Mhm.
uh, main conversation, but this whole thing because this is great. But I need to do the introduction.
We did our prelude.
We did.
Ah,
I'm gonna edit
alright.
this conversation into the main
Ah,
conversation because I do have questions for you, Chris.
how dare you?
I know. Yeah.
Oh, Rando, you're awake.
Is this the doggy?
This is the Rando. Durando, wow! I'm on my ball.
Aw.
It's my baby Durando.
Aw.
Hi.
Hi,
Oh, what
baby.
a sweetie.
Yeah.
This is the one that you almost ran over?
Yeah, and then he lost an eye, and then he got sprayed by a skunk. Hi, bud. I
Oh.
know, I love you. Like, I don't like being on cameras. Don't make me do it, Dad.
You're too bad. You're too
That's the
pretty.
thumbnail. That's the thumbnail.
It's baby Rando like, look,
Yeah.
look,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
keep
Fantastic.
telling.
What a sweetie.
Yeah. Go get him, buddy.